One of the first female founding members of the Asian Wedding Association, London-based wedding entrepreneur Timmy Kader has been in the business of weddings from the day she was born. Timmy and her husband have over 20 years experience in the Asian wedding industry and has achieved several awards, from being featured on the BBC, Decor Expert and in Asiana Magazine.
One of the most pivotal moments in my career was when I first started 1SW Events in 2010 in London. I just got married, remarried, and moved to London and started a new business. My journey as a wedding planner and a wedding stylist began from a family business in Bradford. From the minute I was born, my family was always into the Asian wedding industry. My grandfather was constantly bringing goods from India and Pakistan and selling them in a store in Bradford. So we were always surrounded by lots of cultural aspects, and I think he was a bus driver when he first moved to this country, and as an immigrant in this country he just wanted to bring his own culture. And I think that's where my journey started. I think that's where our roots are. So we brought an element of our culture back to the UK. And as I grew up, as is tradition in a lot of Asian families, we were spending our weekends not going to parks and having play dates, but going into the family business and working. And which was also a way of, I think, increasing our confidence when it came to speaking to people. And just, I think for me, it was the key moment, which I never forget, is actually looking at all the colours, watching people buy things, buy fabrics, looking at different textures. And I think that really was the start of my creative journey and to where I am today. I used to design clothing in the family business. I used to design jewellery ranges. I was the first granddaughter or the first grandchild in the family. Hence, I was the grandchild or the only person to bring in using computers in our family business. Until then, everything was done manually, but as I left school and IT was the new thing, I brought in computers and modernized the ordering system for ordering clothing in the business. In my pastime, I would just look at all the jewellery, work with suppliers in India to design new ranges. So I think from a young age, and this is all without social media, I had a passion for this subject. And it's quite, we didn't have Instagram to be able to document that journey, but when I see other people doing it now, and it is a lot easier to be able to order jewellery and design and style, but I think back then it was just a very manual process, and scanning each element of a necklace or an Indian wedding scarf or a sari, and then trying to make a full piece out of it to explain to your supplier where to change. So that was the beginning of my creative journey, and I was about between 16 and 18 when I was doing this, taking part in wedding shows as well, and working with established brands as well to further their ranges in the UK. So and then I think, so that was from being in a family business and working weekends. I think from a very young age we learned to speak to people. As a department store in Bradford, and probably one of the largest kind in the UK, we had over 1,000, 2,000 products, and we would launch these huge sales. Had a workforce of over 30, 40 people. So management came to me very young. I had my mentors, so my two uncles were in the business at the time, and I had to, as a boss, as they were my bosses, report to them on timely occasions, and we'd have staff meetings. And I think I grew quite hungry to be that person in charge. I used to see my uncle bring home tons of paperwork and say, I don't have time to sleep, I don't have time, I've got to do so much work. And we'd be, by the time he'd come home, we would be in bed, and it was such a mystery that, this is the most important person in the house coming home after a long days of work. My dad died when I was small, so I never really spent a lot of time with him, so we grew up in my mum's family. And I remember thinking, God, I wish I was that person in charge of my own business and managing all these people and making decisions. And I think when somebody asked me what I wanted to do, my two things were, well, I want to run a business and I want to be famous. And I'd say not celebrity famous, but be known to be an expert at something. And I think now I can say that proudly that I've finally got there, I'd like to think. I was inspired by a lot of things. So my uncles and my auntie, who I was very close to as well, were my first experience of mentors. There are a few teachers. My art teacher, I really appreciate what she taught me, because again, we were taught a very different style of art. You know, we were making handmade paper at school, and again, that was so I'd get all the sequins and glitters and fabrics from my family business and then take them into school and embed them into handmade paper. And I think I was lucky because one of the assistants was from South Africa and she was a handmade paper specialist. And I don't think we have a lot of those style of teachers left at schools anymore. So I clearly remember that being quite a strong mentor for me. I then got married at 19 and graduated whilst in my first year of marriage. So again, I achieved being the first graduate in the family. And I think the whole experience of university and education and graduation really taught me to refine my skills and be able to take upon any challenge that I'd been through. I mean, my school played a big role in giving us confidence and saying that you can do anything you want to achieve. But I think the whole graduation experience was amazing. And I actually graduated in IT, but because I did have a passion for computer systems, which has helped me greatly today as well when looking at new software and trying to get to grips with things. I then decided that at that point I would spend some time and take a break and give time to my children and married life. I then moved to Nigeria at some point in my marriage and spent 6 months there. That was a very life-changing experience because suddenly you're in a new country as an expat. I met lots of new people, but I also experienced African culture. And it was only 6 months, but I really enjoyed African culture. You know, it was again looking at the fabrics and the way that people dress and I guess what they had to offer. From roaming the streets of Bombay and Karachi as a kid to now roaming the streets, well, not literally roaming the streets, but going to the markets in Nigeria. There were so many similarities between the countries. And my marriage sadly ended at the end of that trip and I had to come back to the UK. But I will never forget about the things that I learned there. And I think also globally, coming from a small place in Yorkshire, in Bradford, then moving to a big city like Lagos, I actually realized how global we truly are. And meeting people from different backgrounds, you know, the expat community is a huge community. It actually opened my eyes up to the world. So when I came back to Bradford after a broken marriage, I think I couldn't live in Bradford anymore. And I was itching to get out and travel and meet people. And luckily, within that year, I remarried to my husband now, Sohail, who is from London. So suddenly I'm, moving to London, which is obviously like a city of dreams and again, very multicultural. And that's where I decided that, right, I'm going to start this wedding planning, wedding styling business. My husband had experience in the clothing industry and we did not want to go back into the clothing industry, especially the Asian wedding industry for clothing, because it had become a very stale market. And I think we realized that this is not really going to last long term. But we both enjoyed design. We had a creative eye. And again, I had to push to get this business started, but we did it. And I think today, just by hard work and looking at lots of things for inspiration, lots of family support as well, because my family had established this business in Bradford, so family support was key. The wedding industry didn't really embrace us. I think we had to work very hard to really make people realize that, we're here and we're here to stay. And I think that was the challenge, especially as a woman, because it still is today, and it was all those years ago, a male-dominated industry. And, again, I had another child, I had small children. There were times when I did take a back seat, but I knew what I was capable of achieving. And I knew that when I am able to come back within my mini breaks, I will come back and I will grow. But I think experience matters and confidence shows. And I think that's probably today that I realized that all those years ago when I started, I thought I had confidence, and I feel like I did, but maybe not as much now because of the experience that I've got. You know, I can take any venue now and transform it, plan a wedding of any size, any culture. But if I think back to where I started from, where I am today, it's a combination of all those experiences that has brought me to where I am today. I think the challenges that I faced in my career was that every business that I've started, or every new thing that I've wanted to do, I've had to start from scratch, as you do generally. But I think it's also because I always tend to venture into fields that I may not have the experience in. So the challenging part has been firstly learning about that stage and learning about the area that I'm going into. But also I think it's not having the support and not being able to find the support. I don't know a lot of people locally, and I think apart from going online and Googling, I wouldn't actually know who to ask. And I've learned that if you want to learn something or get something done, firstly you have to look towards your own network, and if not, then in the last year especially, I've learned there's plenty of webinars and YouTube tutorials and Google and things like that. So I think the challenge has been that to learn anything new, I've had to put a lot of time into learning the field first and learning how to achieve what I want to achieve. And I think that's hard. I think there's two pivotal moments in my life that I can pinpoint which always come to mind. The first one was when I was planning the birthday party for Amir Khan and Faryal Khan's daughter. And that was, I guess when I first took upon that project, I didn't realize how much it would propel my business. And had I not had the family support around me, because remember they live in Bolton, I live in London. So, and also having 3 school children age, it was challenging. But I think once I was very nervous building up to the event because I knew that it was being covered by a magazine and they are celebrities and I had standards to live up to and expectations. And there was a lot of issues going on anyway, generally with the family. But I think once I completed those events successfully, and that the couple were happy with the party and they got the media attention that they wanted, it was a big change and a big shift up to how people viewed me and my business. So that was a very pivotal moment. I think things just propelled in a different way after that. And the next pivotal moment, which wasn't really for me to push my business out there more, but to change me as a person, and I think it's where I matured as a planner and a business owner, was when I attended a wedding conference in Thailand. And I met wedding planners from all over the world, a lot of famous ones as well, people that I aspire to be or people that I look up to and follow on Instagram, one of them being Preston Bailey. So I'd say he's the king of weddings in the wedding industry. And when I heard their journeys and I heard them speak and spent some time with them and learnt things from them and learnt about the different things that people do with their weddings in their countries, again, it gave me a very global snapshot of what's possible and be able to apply those new skills and the way that we conduct weddings in this country. And I think that's where I actually learnt the word luxury weddings and actually what luxury actually means. You know, because we think here, the UK is a very small place. So we generally assume that getting married in a hotel is luxury, but that's not enough, is it? You know, luxury could mean anything. Luxury could also be in a barn. How do you define that? And I think that wedding conference, which I am now an associate member of, the DWP, really matured me in my career. When I MSW is one of the UK's, I'd say, largest luxury wedding and event design company. We have been established for about 11 years now, and I'd say that we primarily work on styling your wedding and have all our own decor in-house. We also plan events, but we only do selective events per year because we want to be able to give that your event time and really plan it to every single detail, so from start to finish. So that's one SW Events. I have, as a result of the pandemic, started another business by the name of Food Flower Market, which we are rebranding. And that business was generally bringing about my passion for food, good food, flowers and plants. So it's an extension of the love I have for flowers, which I've had for a very long time. And it's generally about being able to give people a place to where they can have a healthy lifestyle, and not necessarily, I'd say healthy is important, but just enjoy their lifestyle. So incorporating better fruits, such as exotic fruits, into their life, trying different things, trying new recipes, and encouraging people to have more plants in their house and celebrate with flowers. Flowers aren't just for weddings, they're for every day. They're just there on your table to make you happy, or plants are there not just to look pretty, but also for your children to enjoy and to learn about nature, especially in cities, I think, where we don't always have access to green spaces. So I think it's bringing a little bit of nature into your life and to your homes. And then I have started a new program where I want to help people style their weddings. I think we are in a virtual world, and this may stay for a while because I think people prefer it. People have become busier. But I speak to maybe at least 100 brides a year, just calling distressed with, how do I start? Where do I start? What do I need to do for my wedding? Do I book a venue first? Do I book my suppliers? And I think the idea behind the wedding stylist is to sort of direct people in the right direction, be able to plan their weddings themselves. So be in control of what they want to do and how they should start, and then approach suppliers. If you approach suppliers not knowing what you want to do, then you can get booked up into services that you realize later are not working with your theme. So the wedding stylist is to make wedding styling accessible for all brides, regardless of what your budgets are or where you're getting married. And lastly, we, along with a few other Asian wedding industry suppliers, I was invited to become a member of the Asian Wedding Association. And I think I was very much humbled by that, because I think it made me realize that there's an association and they consider me to be an expert, and so they want me to help run that association and be able to talk more about working in the wedding industry. So this is a little bit about the few things that I'm involved in. I have got my hands full, but I love being busy, and I enjoyed the fact that I'm now being respected in my industry, and that people value what I have to say. For a girl from a small city like Bradford to be able to be appreciated in a big city like London, that's a very high achievement. The way that I manage my day would be using a method of time blocking, and I learned this from a business coach that I work with recently. So I've allocated pretty much most of the daytime to my work, and that could usually start at between 9 and 10 a.m. And I continue working till about 3 p.m. when the school run starts. Then between about 3 and 6 p.m, that time is for the children. So just getting them home, picking them up from school. I actually don't answer any calls either unless it's urgent, so that they don't feel they've just got home from school in the car and I'm not asking them about their day. So I try and give that time to them. And then usually I prepare dinner every day as well, so I try to get them involved in that and let them choose their dinner. Because I think for me it's, the worst thing for me, and what I actually hate about, generally about nights when I've got a lot to do, is when I have to not really give them any time and let them get a takeaway in. So I enjoy my cooking time. 3 to 6 is usually cooking and children time and just catching up on homework and things. Then we have dinner, kids go to bed, and by the evening, by about 9-10 o'clock, I start working again. So I'm a night owl, and that doesn't mean that I call people that late, but that's when I catch up on my emails, prepare my quotes. I'm actually my most productive on a night, so all my mood boards and new ideas come to me after 10-11 o'clock at night, where I can just switch off and have some music playing and really let those creative juices flow. So that's how I manage my day. I split it into time blocks. The 3 words that describe my style are feminine, so I'm proud of being a woman, and I love to show that in my clothing. Classic, so lots of pearls and white shirts and clean cuts, and minimalistic, which also goes on to being comfortable in what I'm wearing. I would describe my power look when I'm event planning, usually because there's times when I'm on a mic and there's hundreds of people looking at me. And I'm at my most comfortablest when I'm wearing a white shirt, so white shirt, white blouses, wide leg trousers, clots, and pointed shoes. These could be heels if there's not lots of walking around, but it could also be flats. But pointed shoes really, I think, make me feel confident. But my pearl earrings and my white shirt are the 2 power colors. I think white is my power color mainly. And that's the look I particularly like. I also think it's because it's effortless, it's timeless, and when I'm comfortable with what I'm wearing, I'm more confident and be able to present myself better. My professional closet must have a white oversized shirt, definitely pearl earrings, doesn't have to be too small, the bigger the better sometimes, pointed shoes, a tan bag, and that's a leather bag, almost Gucci Mulberry, and a diamond ring, so on my hands. Looking back to where I was and when I was younger and starting to start my career, I think the advice that I would give myself would be that you should be willing to learn, because things don't happen overnight. You can't just snap into a new business or a new career. I also think, and my mum and my grandma always tell me this, and I've only just realized now why they say this, is to think before you speak. When I was younger, I may have said things and had opinions which, when I think back to them today, I realize how stupid they were. So think before you speak is a really important one, as well as be willing to learn. My mantra for 2021, after a very different year in 2020, is to travel more through work and for leisure. And another initiative that I really want to get into, which has been brought about from the government's Kickstart initiative, is to help more younger people get into jobs. I think I've seen the young generation suffer a lot in this period, be it through job losses or schooling, and I think they need a lot of support, especially in the UK, to be able to upskill. They are very talented. I think they just need a lot of support from businesses and encouragement and confidence building skills. So definitely travel more and start an initiative. I won't call it a charity, but an initiative to develop more skills in our younger generation. My future goals, and this has been my goal for a very long time, is to have a business with departments promoting diversity, being more inclusive in my business, and being able to recruit and teach skills within the business. I don't necessarily look for people who have experience in certain areas. I look at personalities. And so my goal would be to have a thriving business, obviously be healthy and happy, and be able to give something back to the community as well. When lockdown ends, I think I'm going to switch my phone off for one day. Don't take any meetings or work, and just go to the cinema and go and play golf with my children and husband and have a nice meal. That's my comfort zone, and that's what I miss the most.